Our Tech Note this morning is looking to the importance of engineering in national development. The backbone of it is that when it comes to engineering, it is actually the engine of modern day development. From roads and bridges to energy systems, water networks and digital infrastructures, engineers left, right and center are here to design and build the systems that can power economies and can connect communities. And so in that case, for the case of Uganda, we do have institutions such as the UPDF Engineering Brigade and the private sector players that are delivering critical infrastructure from the highways that you're seeing, the airports, the public works, and all this is intended to shape the country's trajectory. So this morning we want to explore what exactly is engineering and how it gets to affect you and me positively, and also positioning Uganda as a sustainable development and economic transformation center. Now joining me, I do have Engineer Henry Mpuga, Vice President in charge of membership and education and training at the Uganda Institute of Professional Engineers. You're most welcome, Engineer Mpuga. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm Engineer Henry Mpuga, the Vice President, Membership, Education and Training of the Uganda Institute of Professional Engineers. Right. Nice to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. What is the one message that you have to an engineer out there?
Yes, the one message I have to the engineers is to transform the science they learn in their education institutions to create useful products to solve the country's challenges. Because the biggest problem we have is that even when you have qualifications and you cannot transform the knowledge into a solution, then does not really make sense. So the country needs engineers who can design, create solutions, and also add on the economic development of this country.
And I believe Engineer Ronald Namugera is doing just that, Registrar of the Engineers Registration Board of Uganda. You're most welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here at NTV to talk about engineering. It's a subject I do, subject I love, and I'm happy to discuss it at NTV this morning. Okay. Thank you, Naroga.
So I'm going to start with you. Globally, countries with strong engineering capacity tend to record higher GDP per capita and also faster industrial growth. For the case of Uganda, what is that looking like for us right now?
Yeah, Uganda, we are not any different from that. And like we know, engineering drives any country's development. Even Uganda, if you look at our plans, our NDP4, it has 5 pillars, but the 4th pillar is building our infrastructure, our sustainable engineering infrastructure. And it's only that infrastructure that shall help us to drive other pillars. We look at our 10-fold strategy. We want to expand our economy from $50 billion to about $500 billion. But if you look at the strategy, it's all being driven by engineering. The only magic we can do to get that leap by 2040 to be a $500 billion economy is going to be driven by engineering. We have to build a sustainable infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, industrialization, the manufacturing. So we go to agriculture. How do we support that? So all that is supported by engineering, and we can do it if we emphasize the role of engineering.
All right. Speaking of emphasizing the role of engineering, Engineer Mpuga, in terms of the Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers, let's re-echo the mandate that you have towards the social and economic growth of our country.
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, the Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers derives its mandate from the 1977 decree number 10, where the institution is supposed to nurture and train engineers in this country to progress and legally be registered by the regulator. So in that case, what happens is, even when you look at the budget, the 2025-2026 budget, when you look at it critically, they are looking at monetization through commercial agriculture, digital transformation, and even other things they're talking about. But without engineering, you cannot achieve that. Even when you come to the NDP4, what the registrars talked about, you realize that from chapter 6 up to chapter 19, you realize that everything is all about engineering, even when you look at the budget. So meaning that engineering, but we don't want to talk about engineering as engineering per se, but we want to talk about engineering innovation, which is the drive or the foundation. Engineering itself, when you talk about engineering itself, it is just a foundation. But engineering innovation it uses the foundation to create change. And this is what we are advocating for as the Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers. When we nurture the graduates after school, we take them through a process such that they can appreciate the science. Only having science in the mind is not enough. So the Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers adds that value. It adds the innovation on the engineers, such that we are able to solve our problems. I believe you have a narrative where people think that engineers in Uganda cannot do. I think the only thing that we lack to disseminate information. Ugandans have changed. We do most of the work here. And I also try to appreciate the ecosystem that now through the STI, the Science, Technology and Innovation Secretariat, under the Office of the President, there are a lot of innovation industrial hubs. When you look at Namambi, we have more than 130 industries. And when you look at most of the plants coming up, like the Kira EV or motors, you realize that we are actually projecting to have over 14,000 jobs for the engineers. So meaning that the Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers centers itself, because it's a membership body first of all, and I want to thank the members who are viewing and also other Ugandans whom I want also to encourage to be the part of this institution. We are doing a great job to mentor and nurture. But the most important thing there, it is to enable the government to drive its agenda of the NDP4 with the people who can create value using science and then be able to avoid having the foreign experts taking most of the jobs, which is not so bad, but we are trying as an institution to nurture and train our members such that they can compete locally and also internationally.
All right, Engineer Ronald, science, technology and innovation are greatly embedded in the National Development Plan 4, but also they must be reflected in the next financial year's budgeting, which cycle is ongoing right now. What are the measurable contributions of engineering innovation to Uganda's productivity, industrialization, as well as job creation agenda?
Yeah, engineering, like my colleague has talked about, and just to remind you why he calls me a regulator, I also come here as the registrar of ERB. ERB is the Engineers Registration Board. So engineering, innovation, technology and digitalizations among the many areas that we are looking at in the budget for this financial, but not only just this budget, but we are looking at a longer period. I talked about the 5-year NDP. We are building sustainable infrastructure to deliver engineering services is the main key. And as engineers, we normally have a discussion where we bring this to life. We don't want to do things outside without people getting to know what we're doing. So we normally hold what we call the World Engineering Day. We discuss all these areas of innovation, how we do sustainable development. We look at the environment. If you look at the environment, it's really a challenge. Environment needs to be talked about, and we need to look at how we can design sustainable infrastructure. Given the climate change, we have to design resilient infrastructure so that we are able to leave a world for the next generation. We are not here as the last people, so whatever we design as engineers has to be sustainable and has to be able to stay. You know, we don't want to just design and things fail. So on 4th March, that's 4th this March, we have a day we call the World Engineering Day. So we converge as engineers. It's celebrated worldwide. So in Uganda we shall converge here, and that's when we get all engineers in the country, from the districts, from the departments of government, from Ministry of Works, Ministry of Water, Ministry of Energy, and we discuss how engineering is able to help the country develop in a sustainable way. And then we are able to transform our country, Uganda, from the current peasant economy to a modern and a prosperous nation. And this can only be done with the right engineering and with the right regulation. So as regulators of ERB, we need to regulate this environment and this engineering space. What
will be the focal point for the World Engineering Day 2026?
So World Engineering Day 2026, the focal point, we look at the theme, which is smart engineering to to support the socio-economic development, looking at digitalization and innovation. So that's the focal point. When we look at the world currently, and Uganda in particular, for us to develop or to leap into middle income or to achieve our tenfold growth strategy, we need innovation. We need to do things differently. We need to work smartly. We need to look at digitalization. We can't continue doing the normal conservative way of thinking and engineering, and we achieve that 10 growth strategy. So it's about innovation, science and technology. We are very particular about science and technology, and empowering the young engineers who have come out of university to innovate and come up with new solutions, and they're of course working with the experienced engineers. We have set up a few research hubs. There is one at Rebitete and the Ministry of Science and Technology. We have industrial parks. So all these are driving this strategy, which we have a dream as a nation.
All right. Engineer Henry, some of these things tend to be far-fetched from the realities that we're facing as a country. In terms of smart engineering, what is our status on that front? And given the fact that in terms of digitization adoption, we're still at a snail's pace for us as a country, and yet we want to facilitate or foster local innovation with that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we are picking that from the Industry 4.0 that basically looks at digitization, the Internet of Things, and AI as well. But I may a little bit say that we have shifted. Maybe if you can access information, that we are not moving at a snail speed. It's only that the information is not in the public domain. We've held, as an institution of engineers, we've held pre-webinars, pre-innovation webinars with science, technology, and innovation. And they have tried to explain and demonstrate how far Uganda now has moved. So in terms of digitization, I don't say that we are so backward, because even in this studio, I can see a lot of improvement coming from the live production and also process project engineering. So the only thing is that the information in the public domain, it is not there for Ugandans to appreciate that Uganda has moved. But maybe back to that, I would say that we only just need to integrate some of what is shifting in the industry into the education system. Because when you are building the new generation, they should be exposed to what is happening in the field, such that their education it is assimilated with skills that can enable them to move smoothly when they come out of the university. The other thing I wanted to say, as much as we are talking about digitization, but now as we are shifting from 4.0 to 5.0, we are now moving to what we call the human-centric. And human-centric basically now looks at resilience and sustainability. So the viewers there and also the students in universities, one thing you just have to understand, we need now to focus on skill development. As much as you attain, science is okay. And without science, I cannot say that you can do engineering, which is not risky. Science gives us why the universe works like that, but engineering translates the science into a useful product. Now, what should happen is that in our education system, such that it is not inward, outward, it should be outward, inward, meaning that even when you are studying, you understand the particular problems in the field you are going to solve, other than being in a class and then you graduate, and at the end of the day, then you come out and you're looking for that kind of experience. That kind of experience can come out, yes, of course you can learn engineering while in a practice, but it is also very important to be exposed prior to that kind of environment. So when it comes to digitization, we have moved. I just look at the studio here. Everything we are looking at even the voice transmission, the way you are looking at the production, all this is digitization, meaning that we have shifted. Now, the only thing is, how do we integrate this in our education system? How do we prepare our graduates, these ones who are churned out, 400 or 700 graduates, how do they move out with this kind of skills, such that when they come out, they are easy to innovate, such that they improve this kind of environment. So that's what I want to say, but we've shifted. The 4.0 has been exhausted. At least we are at a particular point, not at a full scale, but we are at least somewhere. So the only thing is that we have to disseminate this information to the public domain, and also have the Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers has plans to even do university drives, whereby we go to universities and give some of these public lectures. We even offer mentorship to the graduates. We even offer mentorship to the practicing engineers. So they may be there, but we are trying to even develop an industrial skill mapping, so that even when someone studied something else and wants to go and venture into like a space of Internet of Things, a person can easily be moved, can only be translated into that particular kind of space. So the mechanisms have been developed by an institution. The only problem is that we only need to be supported by the law, such that we enforce the regulation, such that whoever comes from the university, it is a mandatory mentorship. Many people come, when they are not ready, they enter into the space, and they actually don't know what to do. So as an institution, a framework has been developed. We are supported by the regulator, such that at the end of the day, we have all the engineers acquire the valuable skills to transform in form of digitization. But not only digitization, we are also looking at production, which brings in sustainability and resilience, such that the country can move. Without production, without localizing production, Uganda cannot move anywhere. And this is our emphasis, to locally build the skills that can make our people go into the production, such that we avoid importation of some of these products.
Okay, that being said, attaining the smart engineering to support local innovation being the basis for this day's celebration or commemoration. Engineer Henry here has mentioned some few gaps. The scaling is one of those that is being addressed, and the information gap. What other existing gaps need to be addressed in order to bridge smart engineering with local innovation?
Yeah, there are quite a few gaps, and thanks, Henry, for those areas. The regulation, I'm from the regulator side, and I think regulation is one of the gaps we have. Currently in Uganda, we have so many engineers, but we have professional registered engineers. So part of the regulation we need to do is to ensure that all engineering that is being done for us to have a sustainable solutions has to be regulated and has to be done by the right people. So we have registered engineers who come through our board, that's the regulator ERB, and we make sure that we put the right persons to the right jobs. Another gap we have is the assumption that work of engineering can only be done by foreigners. I think that's a gap that we need to fill as a country. We have engineers here who can do the work, but they are not being given a chance to do the work. So we need to empower, first of all, our local engineers as consultants to do this engineering. They can do all these things that are being done elsewhere. The contractors, we cannot continue to rely on foreign contractors doing all the works here. So that means we shall never have a chance to build capacity for our own contractors, and these are the people who are going to be here forever. They are Ugandan contractors, they are home children, so they are the ones in charge of developing our country. So we need to empower our contractors, our consultants to do this work. But also the regulator, we need to listen to the regulators, listen to the engineers. If we tell you this solution is not sustainable, we know what we're talking about because we have done research, we have studied these things. We can tell you that you can't put this here. Or if you want to do this construction in such and such a place, work with the engineers so that we can guide you on what to do. So the gaps about regulation and also digitalization. I think we are slow in adopting digitalization. We still want to do things the same old way, but we are moving on. There is now AI. We need to also embark on using AI in Uganda. We can't wait for other countries to use it, and maybe much later we say it's also applicable here. We can actually use the AI tools to come up with smart solutions and deliver them here through a sustainable development and also being regulated right by the right professionals.
Okay. Engineer Henry, there's another gap that we need to address, and I would like your voice in addressing it. The unmonitored engineering solutions that are being brought onto the market by, say, maybe engineers from Kenya. Of course, the regulations, the standardization are different country to country, and so someone will pick a very good innovation from another country, bring it here to Uganda, but of course when it comes to standardizations, those checks are not put into place, they're not considered, or they don't go through those channels of checks to ensure that it is usable, applicable to foster better engineering in Uganda. How are you addressing that gap?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, we may not be at a point where you may refuse people to import the technology if you do not have the solution here. Like as I mentioned, that a country which doesn't embrace production, if you do not localize production. For example, when I talk about production, I'm looking at things like you may not be able even to manufacture the machine parts or the spare parts. You may find that someone has a project of like 1 billion, but almost 80% of that 1 billion, it is on just importing either machine parts for the assembly and all that. So at some point you stand a risk to have this kind of products, or maybe what you may call innovation, to come into the country, just because we may be a bit slow to localize the production, and also to provide incentives maybe to the locals, or either to build capacity in one way or the other, which is very intentional, to build people locally who can be able to advance the production. Now, when it comes to standardization, in most cases, even the technologies that are imported, locally we may not even have the equipments that may be able to validate. So you stand a risk. Of course, the Uganda National Bureau of Standards is trying to build the capacity such that they can standardize and ensure that all what is imported it conforms to the international standards. But sometimes it's also subject to the availability of the equipments to be able to give that kind of information. So I think that gap, it has to be addressed. As the professional body, we try to engage our members into a lot of awareness in terms of standardization, and then we also try to take them for the industrial visits, whereby they could be able to see and validate. So it is a value chain thing where we need to address it from a point of our education in terms of supporting the government bodies that are supposed to do the work, like the Uganda National Bureau of Standards, and also enforcing laws at the borders. Of course, not everything that may come may probably come when the government has put all the stringents. Some people sneak. For example, you may find that there is a dealer of a particular product, but you may find that even downtown there are people who have the same product. So you cannot validate the counterfeits. So that is a very big problem to address the counterfeits, but I know the mechanisms have been put to address that. But most importantly, also to provide information to our members, to be able, for us as the institution, we provide information to our members that this is not okay. Like for example, if you go to the building materials, you may find that people stand a risk of using the building materials that are not of a certain quality, just because they do not have the information. That's number one. Then the other thing that could be that if we can integrate some of these public lectures and also exposing the learners to the industry practices, they can be the first ambassadors to actually kick out some of those things. This is not only triggered to look at government putting measures, but also as Ugandans, we need just to be a bit curious with the information. What I suppose, if you are an engineer and you are using a particular material on a structure, are you competent enough to verify its authenticity? Do you have the information? So apart from importing, but do you have the capacity? Some people do the factory tests, but they do not exactly go in depth even to understand either the raw material from which the material was made. So I think it is an issue from a broader perspective that we need to empower people with information, and also government supporting the bodies that are supposed to do the work to standardize or to verify.
So speaking of that, Engineer Ronald, in terms of professionalizing the practice right now, how do we stand? Because many of the failed solutions we have on the market, and many of the failed practitioners we have on the market, it has all been mostly been faulted to the fact that this person is not a qualified engineer or a recognized engineer. And so how are you addressing and bridging that?
Yep, we have that challenge that has been recognized, just like you said, and we, as the regulator for engineering in the country, first of all, we have put channels of registering professional engineers and training them. And for such solutions, we intend to use only registered and qualified engineers. We encourage government through ministries, MDAs, that we cannot bring any solution on the market without being tested, without a touch of a professional who is in that field. At the registration board, that is ERB, we are accessible now. We talk about digitalization, we've already started that. All engineers in the country are registered through a system. They can be accessed online. So before a solution comes, or if there is a client there, you want some solution, you should be able to access our online platform and get to know the professions used for that solution. So as a regulator, we are available to be contacted on any of these solutions. We can also support government. Different government departments are supported by us. We have our members on the boards. We are normally consulted. So we are available to support this so that the population doesn't end up getting fake solutions. And yet we have competent people, we have a competent authority, and we are available to support and stop that kind of fake solutions on the market. Yeah,
on your side, Engineer Henry, because you have to think about also the public safety being a priority in all of this.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, the Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers has a very serious core value, responsibility to the public, and also the other is professional ethics. The other one we have is accountability to membership. But when it comes to responsibility to the public, even when before we put you out there as a corporate member, before we brace you to go to the regulator, to recognize you to practice legally as per the Registration Act of 1969, you realize that we put a list for 14 days for the public to also give comments if the person we are putting out there has been in a practice. Of course, we have our mechanisms where we train and nurture someone to come as a well-groomed engineer, such that before he's given a license, because as per the Registration Act, we help the regulator to nurture and train. But the public is our center of point, because apart from me as an engineer who studied engineering, but it does not make sense if I do not translate that engineering to help the public, to solve human problems. So public is our center. These are the customers. These are the people we design things for. So the moment, I hope you have stories of the buildings that have gone down. I know people have commented on the roads that go bad even after they have been set up. But all you know, the engineers' mistakes cannot be hidden. So we are very cautious that the public evaluates the work that is being done. I think you are very aware that now engineering is not only under the foundation of civil, mechanical, electrical. Engineering now has shifted. We have biomedical engineers in hospitals. We have chemical engineers. Now we have the oil and gas. We have petroleum engineers, chemical engineers. Just take an example that someone who is a biomedical engineer just makes a mistake, either maybe on how to install the MRI, or if there are some parameters to be adjusted, you are going to kill people. So our solutions, our designs and implementation of these designs focuses to make the public better. So public is our center, and that one we do not even argue about it. But as a professional body, with the support of the regulator, we try to make our engineers go through. Right from the universities, we have engineering associations in different universities. Recently, even we launched the Makele Incubation Center, the Innovation Incubation Center, to make the young people in universities to understand studying engineering is a responsibility. It's not about fun. It's not that you are bright, it's a responsibility. And from our core value, responsibility to the public makes us to be a core point, to be responsible in the designs and the solutions we make.
Engineer Ronald, we're having an integration of so many things within the East African region. We do have the oil and gas that's leading us to have an integration within with our neighbors, and engineering is a core of that integration. But then there's standardization by country. How are you addressing that as an upcoming gap that will challenge people from having a cross-border extension of their innovation and their skills?
Yep. what we have as a region, I think with the region we thought further before the development of the oil and gas came in. We have an agreement. Engineers in the East African region, Tanzania, Uganda, all the 8 countries, we have what we call the mutual recognition agreement. In this agreement, we agree on standards, both engineering education, registration for professionals, and also the work we do. You'll note that the pipeline we are doing is from Uganda, passing through Tanzania to the port. So all this work is being done by both Ugandans and Tanzanians, and the standards we are using have already been harmonized as part of the region. So in our MRA, that's the Mutual Recognition Agreement, we have regulators in all these East African countries, the 8 of them, of which yours truly is the chairman. I'm the chairman of that committee, so Uganda is chairing it, and I'm chairing it myself. So we have meetings where we discuss these regulations and make sure that we are harmonizing, because our dream is to work as one community in East Africa. So we can't have different standards in Uganda, different in Kenya, and different in Tanzania. So we have managed to start on that process, started on it quite a while back. MRA was first signed in 2012, so it's been around for more than 12 years. So it shows you that before we even started the oil pipeline or working together as a region into this engineer, professions are already talking, and we've been discussing these things. So we have an agreement, we have signed standards, and as a region we also want to accede to accords. We want to be part of international accords like the Washington Accord. So we are in the process of acceding to that accord, and these are standard accords where your engineering as a country, as a region, is tested and looked at in comparison with other countries who are part of that accord. So we are not sleeping. We have been working and still working, and we shall ensure that we are harmonized so that we don't have any gaps in the standards across the region.
All right. Engineer Henry, futuristic innovation is supposing to be a threat to existing solutions that have stood the test of time and now can be called heritage. How do you ensure that there's protection of our heritage while also making room and way for futuristic innovation?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to create this approach. I have had a threat, of course, people saying that the artificial intelligence has come to take the jobs. Of course, as we do also look at innovation, also the valuation of our culture. Of course, it's all about sensitization. We are at a point where people are exposed to a lot of digital platforms, the young people, and yet people are supposed to be exposed to certain things in stages, not as they come. But one thing I do not agree that artificial intelligence, it has come to repress a human being. Artificial intelligence revolves around data. When you talk about thinking is about data, revolving in memory, recycling memory. But a human being has to sharpen the intelligence by creating focus. So if we focus, the futuristic innovation, or what even we are talking about, the AI, the Industry 5.0, will not disorganize our heritage, will not disorganize our status quo, but it will transform it to a better. That's why Industry 5.0, it is very clear that it wants technology to work for the people, not people to be mingled into the technology. Right. So it's not a threat. Okay. It is a question of foundation.
Yeah. So we are safe. In other words.
We are safe.
Okay. All right. That's encouraging. Allow me to give you both 30 seconds for closing remarks and your call to action. Let me start with Engineer Ronald. Yeah.
First of all, I thank you for hosting us here. We are happy to come and talk about engineering, and as a country we have a bigger platform. On 4th March, that is 2026, we have what we call the World Engineering Day. We are going to host it here in Uganda, and the Engineering Board and Ministry of Works, we are organizing this, and we are talking about, again, engineering. How do we use smart engineering for sustainable development of our country through innovation, through digitalization? Okay. We don't want these words to remain on paper. So we are going to have a big discussion as engineers, technology scientists. We should be able to discuss on 4th March some of the solutions. We have policymakers, the government,
all right.
We have you, the media. We want you to come and we discuss so that these solutions and these words are not just mere words, but we can put them into the transformation of our country, Uganda,
okay.
so that we are able to leap forward
into
middle income.
Thank you, Ronald. Engineer Henry.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in and listening to us, and also NTV for the opportunity. To the Uganda Institutional Professional Engineers, the members of the institution and those who are hoping to join, please let us embrace mentorship. Let us embrace togetherness so that we can discuss. When we are in big numbers, the government will understand that we are there to transform the country's development. And also we also encourage you to be part of the World Engineering Day. This is part of professional development, and career you'll earn the professional development units.
Yeah.
This is quite very important for career growth and professional development. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and looking forward to the 4th of March 2026, which is embedded in smart engineering to support local innovation. That brings us to the end of this discussion. I am Priscilla Regina Naroga.